You're listening to Win-Win, an entrepreneurial community with your host, Ben Wolf.
And welcome to the Win-Win podcast. This is Ben Wolf, your host. We're going to learn from our guest today how to be the nice guy, or about being the nice guy, quote unquote, when you have an underperforming team. Please pause this for a second before we get into that topic. Like, follow, subscribe, leave a review wherever platform you were listening to or watching this on. It seriously will do a favor to me, will do a favor to other people who are going to get access to the content that we're sharing here more accessibly based on the algorithms of the big tech powers that be. So please take a moment to do that. And now that you've done that and we have been unpaused, I want to ask my guest today, or introduce my guest today. She has been the integrator of numerous organizations over many years. She has over 10 years of franchising experience, and she is our own esteemed integrator at my firm, Wolf's Edge Integrators, as well. She's the integrator of integrators. Welcome to the episode, Laura Granato.
Thank you, Ben. I'm super happy to be here with you.
Well, and I am very happy to have you. And you can learn about Laura or anybody else on our team, or about our team in general, at Wolf's Edge Integrators at wolfsedgeintegrators.com. That's WOLFS, edgeintegrators.com. And with that, Laura, if you don't mind, we can I introduce yourself? Give us like a quick 2-minute background on you, your story, and sort of how we got to be talking about the context of this topic today. Being a nice guy and having an underperforming team. Like, what's the context and background we should know?
Yeah, so I will start off by saying I had a really weird career in terms of how I got here, but everything led to where I am. I'll start where I was a dog trainer. And being that, I learned a lot about working with people and seeing different personalities.
Because people are like dogs, or are you talking about your colleagues?
Both. But I train my colleagues like I train the dogs. So just don't tell them. But so anyways, from there, I was recruited by the largest dog daycare and boarding franchise. And that's where I began my franchising career. And I built up the training business there. But one of the reasons I love that is because I have always been a process and procedure person. I like structure. I like looking for efficiencies. And so I had a 10-year career in franchising and, just fell in love with the ability to be able to get in to places and help them be more efficient and effective. And so I met Ben Wolf and got really excited about the fractional COO world. And he took me under his wing for whatever.
Sounds like a nice guy.
And here I am. And the reason I like to talk about this topic is because I think it's so prevalent in the industry with owners. And I think that, a lot of them make themselves feel bad about it, but they shouldn't.
Well, so let's a great segue. Let's dive into that. Paint us a picture. Right? What does the life look like for this quote unquote nice guy or nice gal business owner with an underperforming team? Share some stories, just like paint us a picture.
Yeah, so a lot of times, and I see it with all different size companies, but the ones that I'm thinking about tend to be my smaller clients. And as I started doing this more and more, I realized that the smaller teams, when a visionary starts their business, they're starting with a few people. And so it becomes a close-knit group, more personal. And as they grow, the business owner starts to figure out, okay, well, this isn't exactly what I need, these same people, in order to move the business forward. But then they have these relationships, and so they struggle with being able to make changes that are better for their business because it's not their thing, right? And they love their team, which is understandable, but to grow businesses, you need the right people.
Right. Well, what's an example, or what's a story of somebody that you've seen and who was, we're not even talking about solutions yet,
Yeah.
just so that people can see themselves, who found themselves in this kind of situation.
Yeah. So a lot of times, speaking to visionaries as we're thinking about working together, one of the most common things is being able to hold their team accountable. And they don't like to do it because they want to be loved, right? So we all do. None of us want to be that person that people don't like, especially the ones you work with. And so with accountability comes a certain amount of having to keep people focused and in line. And we hear from visionaries all the time that, I was talking to one the other day and he was like, this just it's not me. I'm not good at it. I know everything's going bad because I just can't get this structure in line because my team is, I love them. He's like, they're great, but they're not doing the right things. And I'm too scared to make them. And so a lot of times that's why they bring us in. And, they start to talk about their team and they're not necessarily the right people. They're great people. They may be good at what they do, but they're not good in terms of what the visionary needs to move their business forward. So I've seen that a lot.
Right. Sort of the corollary of, they say what got you here won't get you there. But there's
Exactly.
also the aspect of the people who got you here sometimes aren't the ones
Yep.
who can get you there. It's
Yep.
very hard to make that mental transition and make those hard decisions for people that you
Mhm.
like and who you want to like you.
Yes. And I think the one that comes to mind that was probably the most difficult, smaller company, and a family member actually was part of the team. And they started off because they were helping, their family member build their business. And as time went on, when I went in there, they knew, the owner knew that this was not the right person. And they're like, I just don't know what to do. I made this mistake and I don't know how to get out of it. So worked on trying to coach the person up. It just, it didn't work out. But that's something that can happen as well. That's pretty difficult for visionaries to deal with.
Right. Is being a nice person or a good person incompatible with having a successful business?
No, absolutely not. Because none of us like to be a, not nice person. So it's okay to be a nice person, but I think the biggest thing that I love is when visionaries recognize that it's not their thing, it's not what they're good at. And a lot of
Which
times
part? You
that's
mean which part? You mean accountability, or what do you mean?
so let me think about, oh, sorry. So it's it they're not good at not only accountability, but they're not good at keeping a team structured. It's not what they're good at. They tend to err toward the nice side, obviously. But they bring people like fractional COOs into their business to help them with those kind of things. It's a difficult situation for them, but it's okay to be nice. It's okay to be nice as long as you have somebody that can hold the team accountable and make sure that things are getting done the way they need to be done.
Right. And I guess the willingness that whoever you've brought on board, whether it's somebody on the outside, like a fractional integrator or COO, or whether it's somebody else that you've hired or somebody else in the
Mhm.
organization, that you back them up, right? That they're empowered to do the things that are necessary to help you achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah. That can be a lot of times a downfall. If you bring in somebody, right? If you bring in somebody from the outside, they see things that the visionary may not see. Or the visionary sees it, but they don't want to necessarily do what needs to be done. So bringing in that outside person, what I've seen is it kind of validates their feelings because we see it. They may know that they're not right, so the validation helps
Right.
them.
And maybe had
They
some
just
self-doubt.
exactly. They just don't know what to do from there.
Now, okay, business owners listening to this or watching this episode, and they're thinking, okay, yeah, I mean, look, I have this challenge. There's some tough decisions about accountability or structure, or knowing what to do, or doing the things that I know need to get done, or maybe feeling isolated, but feeling like, I can't bring myself to do this or to say this or to really stick to it with this person. And sometimes it's also a fear that if I stick to accountability with this person, it's also a fear of, well, what happens if I push them too hard and then they're going to leave? And then I don't know how or can't imagine myself having to find a replacement or to add to the team. So there's a fear of not wanting to hire that could also lead to a fear of actually creating real accountability in a situation. But what do you do with the clients that people could do for themselves when they want to, I guess, get beyond this false dichotomy between being a nice guy or a nice gal and having a high performing team?
Yeah.
What can people do?
So it's the thing that I think that visionaries need to do if they're in that situation is just take a step back, because they built their business to where it is, and they need to just kind of look at where are they going. So if they know where they're going, which most visionaries do, they need to separate personal feelings from what they're seeing, because one person can actually damage a whole culture in a company. And I've seen that before, where there's this in there's there can be one person that can damage a group of 10. So if the person's not performing well, maybe they've been there and they're kind of coasting along. I've seen that before, under the radar. The rest of the team sees it and it brings it down. So I think that you have to look at it as not being, oh my goodness, I don't want to be liked, or I'm just too nice. It's sitting back and going, what do I need to move the business forward? Players are what you need to grow your business, and you just need to separate yourself. Even if it's bringing in an HR person to help with the situation, but they need to remember, nice doesn't mean don't make the right decisions for your business.
Right. No, so that's a great point, and it's obviously a hard thing to do, but create a separation between, kind of like what you like to do personally and what's in the best interest of the business. What role does connecting to your mission, or like what the greater goals of the business are, where does that fit into this conversation?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have people that are living your mission, your vision, your values, they're just not going to get you where you need to go, because they're not going to be on board. I have a visionary that I'm working with, where the team members, they don't believe. And that's actually one of the things that we're going to work on, is the fact that the team members that he talked about in us versus them, right? And we're having a discussion about, what are your values? What is your mission? And if they don't believe in it, are they the right people for your team? Probably not, because everybody needs to stand behind the vision of the company and the mission of the company. Otherwise, you're not going to get there. It becomes a conflict, and it's tough. If everybody's moving in the right direction and they're excited about their leader and they're excited about where they're going, it's more positive environment and the business does better.
What else? What other tools or techniques or principles should business owners keep in mind to kind of overcome this? I guess the challenges of having an underperforming team, but always but wanting to be a nice guy.
Gosh, it's so tough. I have had these conversations with my visionaries, and I can think of one in particular. She was just, she wants her team to be happy. She does the right things for them. She's so nice and just so dedicated. She wants everybody to have a career there and want to be there. And she actually started, I had to tell her no on certain things because I'm like, oh my goodness, that's fantastic, but you're so, that's above and beyond. And I've had discussions with her about the fact that having somebody else to kind of help is important, right? Because, they can tend to be the ones that can move things forward. But the other thing that I would talk to her about is that just sitting down and thinking about the reasons that this is not going to move their business forward. And just, you have to separate personal, right? It's one of those things. There's lots of things a business owner can do for a person if they do have to, ask them to leave the team. That can make them feel better. But it's very tough because I think it's an innate personality, that we all just want to be nice. It's tough.
Right. Right. So there's that theme of separating out what needs to be done in the best interests of the business, and really the business is only there as a means to an end. It's there to achieve certain means to take care of your family. It's there to take care of the families and give opportunities to all the team members, not just, a small number of them.
Yeah.
And the business is there also for your customers or clients, right? You have some or the society or the community that you are aiming to improve in your business. Most business owners I talk to, they have some greater mission beyond just making money.
Yeah.
And I think it comes down to, are you harming your community or your society or your clients or your team in general by not doing what's in the best interest of the business because of a difficulty in making hard decisions, which, I don't know. I guess that's part of what it comes down to in terms of framing it for yourself.
And I think the other thing that I was just thinking about is I think there might be an underlying sense of feeling that they failed somebody, because now, these discussions will turn into, well, did I do enough? Did I help them enough? And I think that there might be that underlying sense of, oh my goodness, I'm building this business and they've helped me. Did I fail them? And that's where we talk about, nobody wants to fail, but it's talking about, like you said, what got you here won't get you there. So they may have been good in the beginning. And, visionaries have to realize it's not a failure. They're not a failure. It's just business changes as it grows.
Right.
And you have to make changes that continue to move your business forward.
Right.
Otherwise, you're stuck.
Right. Yeah, it's so true. But what's a story or example, that you've seen of somebody turning this around, right? Somebody being a nice guy or nice gal, and then having issues with the team, having an underperforming team, or worse, and who turned it around? What did they do to turn it around?
So this is a tough one. I mean, it was tough for them, but I can think of one example where there was a team of 10 and, they just had to sit down and think about the reasons. what do I, like I said before, where's the business going? Do they fit the where I want to go? And just sitting down and looking at the group, whatever it is, and the person that I'm thinking about basically just started to realize, okay, well, I'm spending money, like I'm investing money in a person that is not pulling their weight the same as the rest of the team. Should I have somebody in that seat that is being paid that will contribute to the things I need, but also be, a positive influence in the culture? And I think that for her, it really helped separate the difference between, am I going to be a mean person seen as mean, or am I doing the right thing for the business? And then it was just, once that clicked in her head about, the separation, like we've been talking about, it was easier for her. And then I think the thing that I love to see was that the culture improved. And that got her really excited. And I think that was a kind of a, dog joke, positive reinforcement for the owner that it's okay. And she still knows this person. They're still, in communication. And I think she realized it's okay that this happens, because look at the positive outcome from doing it. And the person is still in communication. They realize they're not the right person either.
Right. No, that's such a great point. When it comes down to, I guess one of the other things that you're pointing out that that people listening to this or watching this can hear is that part of the reason why we think it's like a choice between being a nice guy and accountability is because we are falsely framing the accountability side in our own minds. And what you were just teaching us is that we have to recognize, if we're labeling accountability or doing the right, for the business as being something mean, like that's how we're labeling in our minds.
Yes.
And then, but just you're saying to reframe it or relabel it and say, no, it's not something mean. It's doing the right thing for the greater good. That's what it is. And if we reframe it as doing the hard thing, that's the right thing for the greater good, not the mean thing, then we can, then that could be part of how we, get to make those tough decisions.
Yeah. And I think, visionaries have to remember that they made a lot of hard decisions starting their business. And, they had to have faith in what they were doing, and they probably invested a lot of money. And there's a lot of hard things that have happened along the way that they've pushed through. And I think just remembering it's just that another thing that has to push through, and they've made those decisions before, and they can do it.
Right. That's a great point. They talk about that in Strategic Coach all the time, to recognize that you've done this before. Actually, like this new thing that you think you've never done before, you've done new things that you've never done before.
Exactly.
And you've succeeded. And so that's a great point. It's a great encouragement. Really appreciate you making the time to talk about this, Laura, and show people how they can have high performing teams. They can have great and positive people. And you don't have to be a cruel taskmaster or a horrible, mean person in order to do it. But it requires reframing. It requires concentrating on doing the right thing, not just on, being liked or being nice or taking care of people, which is a valid instinct. And if people want to learn more about you, or about, about what you do and what our whole team does as fractional COOs and integrators, helping, visionaries obviously handle questions like this and challenges like this and many others. Obviously, they can check out wolfsedgeintegrators.com. You can reach out to Laura Granato on LinkedIn. If you have any questions for her, want to connect. Is that right? LinkedIn? That's a good place.
That's a great place.
Awesome. Well, Laura, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate you making the time, teaching on this topic. everything you do for Wolf's Edge as our integrator and everything you do for our clients. I appreciate you. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thanks, Ben.
Okay. Talk to you later, and everybody else, we'll see you on the other side. Thanks.
You're listening to Win Win, an entrepreneurial community with your host, Ben Wolf.